Next to present is Tekcapital CEO, Dr. Clifford Gross. 2 months ago, Cliff told us that all 4 of his portfolio companies were making excellent commercial progress, with both Lucyd and Salarius already generating revenues. Guident will have a remote monitoring and control center operational in Florida later this year. And indeed, Bellescura has now been floated and will be manufacturing portable oxygen concentrators by the year end. So it's all happening. Cliff has announced that the remaining portfolio companies, that's Guident, that's Salarius and Lucyd, will also be floated or sold within 2 years. So here to give us the latest on the plan is the man himself, Dr. Clifford Gross.
Oh, thank you, Donald. I hope you've been keeping well. Our goal is obviously to find exits for the companies that we've started and invested in. The first one already being realized in Bellascura, but the other 3 companies may find exits as floated companies or through trade sales. And our hope is that we're able to manifest those exits over the next 2 years. And we're working diligently to bring that about. So I just wanted to clarify the timelines and the strategy there. What we do is, if anybody is new to the story on right now, is our goal is to transform university discoveries into valuable products that can make a meaningful difference to people's lives. And in general, we believe all good companies have this sort of dual mandate to improve the quality of life of the customers they serve, and of course to generate solid returns on invested capital. And we are inextricably tethered to that dual mandate at Tekcapital. We are building portfolio companies around what we view as compelling, if not disruptive, technologies that we are able to secure from our global network or alliances. And we have built 4 what we believe to be truly compelling technology companies, which I'll go into in a bit. And what separates these companies, we think, from a lot of early stage businesses is that in addition to having prescient intellectual capital, they also are coupled with star power management. Management teams that have proven to be successful in a number of their past endeavors. We also provide technology commercialization services to about 250 universities around the world. And this allows us to not only cover a portion of our operating expenses, but it also keeps our finger on the pulse of new discoveries at these universities. So we think it creates a competitive advantage. And finally, but by no means least, we have a multi-year track record of improving net assets and also improving sales and profitability all over the last 4 years. So the company is performing well from our perspective, and we're very excited about the coming year and subsequent periods. Our most recent financials from 2020 showed a record net assets of about $32.7 million, and we had about just under 10 million in revenue and about 7.7 million to be exact in net income. So it was our best year ever, although a difficult year by any measure due to the obvious circumstances that we all faced. We were thankfully all healthy and able to execute on our business model. Our net assets have obviously increased with the flotation of Bellascura. They've done a terrific job in developing their first commercial product, the Explore, getting it FDA cleared, which is no small feat, of course, and then completing a successful flotation. And we had, in these net assets that are reported here, we had Bellascura on the books for $2 million. And at current share price, it's worth closer to 14 million. So it was obviously a strong hit out of the park, thanks to Bob Rocker and his capable team. And we're hopeful that down the road, they will also continue with their strong progress. We have built what we believe to be one of the largest networks of university intellectual capital in the world. It covers about 162 countries and more than 4,500 research institutions. And we're able to electronically see, as it were, new intellectual properties that those institutions have developed that are available for sale or license, and as appropriate, cherry pick them for our either existing portfolio companies or for new portfolio companies that we may want to establish. Marcel Proust, in his novel called The Prisoner, published in 1923, he said something which is often quoted, and that is, discovery consists not in finding new lands, but in seeing with new eyes. And I think it's largely true. It's not perfectly true, but it's largely true. You need to have a robust supply if you're looking for diamonds in the rough. But to mitigate adverse selection, but you also need sagacious selection of those properties if you're going to focus on them and invest in them. So you do need sort of a new set of eyes when you're seeing things that others might be seeing. And to help us with that, we have about 60 scientists under contract to us that are able to review any of the properties that we would like them to review, depending upon their sector expertise. So with that being said, these are the 4 companies that we have built, all of them from scratch, from a clean piece of paper. The oldest is Bellescura, which is not very old at all. I think it's about 5 years old, operational for about 4 of those years, which we own 15% of. And they are obviously a medical device company in the respiratory sector, and they're building portable oxygen concentrators and have a pipeline of other interesting oxygen therapy devices. Salarius is a company that owns the patented process for producing the world's, what we believe to be the world's smallest edible salt crystals. And Salarius is gunning to help reduce sodium consumption in the population worldwide, which is the leading risk factor for developing cardiovascular disease, excess sodium consumption, and the leading cause of death in the world. About 17.9 million people die prematurely each year of cardiovascular disease. And we own about 97% of Salarius. Third is Lucyd. Lucyd is on the mission to upgrade the world's eyewear. And Lucyd makes smart glasses, those proper prescription and sunglasses that are enhanced with Bluetooth technology that allow you to take and make calls, talk to Siri, Alexa, or Google Voice, answer requests from your email, listen to music, and you can order an Uber through your glasses. It's pretty neat what you can do with them. I'm wearing them right now, actually, and they are really quite remarkable. And we own 100% of Lucyd and about 80% of their U.S. subsidiary called Innovative Eyewear. And Guident makes software for improving the safety of autonomous vehicles and delivery drones. And we own 100% of the company, and they recently demonstrated their MVP, which showed that they actually have built a quite successful system for the remote monitoring and control of autonomous vehicles and land-based delivery devices. So these are the 4 companies. They're quite, even though they're small in number, they're quite diverse in terms of the sectors that they approach. What they have in common, as per our mission, is if they are successful, and we believe they will be quite successful, if they are successful, they can make a positive impact on the lives of the customers that they serve, as well as producing heady returns on invested capital. Additionally, they have what we believe to be compelling intellectual property, which, if successful, will give them a moat around the products that they're offering to their customers. Of course, intellectual property is a spectrum, and one has to view it in a brutally objective way if possible. It can be, quite time limiting because all patents are sort of limited exclusive periods. But we think they have, quite good intellectual property. Together, these four companies hold more than 70 patents. And the other thing that these four companies have in common is they address current markets in excess of $1 billion each. So the first company, just briefly, because many of you probably know the company by now, cover Bellescura. It's the third leading cause of death in the world is COPD, and more than 300 million people in the world suffer from it. It's not a curable disease, and over time, many of the people who have COPD need supplemental oxygen to allow them to perform activities of daily living, and they need more of that supplemental oxygen as the disease progresses. So Bellascura has created a wonderful new device that we think is one of the leading portable oxygen concentrators in the world that is modular, that allows you to upgrade the device by changing a filter that's based in the device, and it's a user changeable filter cartridge. So much as you would upgrade memory on a laptop, you could enhance the capacity of the device to deliver higher amounts of oxygen as your disease progresses. And net, what this does is it makes portable oxygen concentrators more affordable. And that means if the device gets into wide-scale distribution, which we believe it will save more lives. And so we're very excited about the potential of Bellascura to make a dent in the COPD treatment market, as well as producing good returns on our invested capital, which it is already demonstrated to have done. Further, because of COVID, many of the people who survive COVID unfortunately have secondary symptoms, one of which is residual lung scarring, which may necessitate supplemental oxygen. So the current market size for portable oxygen concentrators, which we estimated about 1.7 billion this year, is expected to rise to roughly 5 billion by 2026. So it's a relatively infinitely sized market, unfortunately, relative to the size of the company. And we think that there's tremendous growth opportunities for Bellescura to earn a piece of that market and become extremely successful financially over time. So that is our great hope, and we're very pleased at the progress. They recently announced yesterday they've signed a second distributor in the U.S., one in the Midwest. They've already signed one on the East Coast, and their goal obviously is nationwide distribution and then worldwide exporting of the product to other territories. And so it's a very exciting trajectory that the company is on, and it's in a wonderful position from our perspective. We own just a little over 17.1 million shares of Bellescura. Lucyd. Lucyd makes eyewear. Now, eyewear industry is pretty stodgy. I mean, it was developed, there's an argument, it could be Pisa or Murano, but about 730 years ago. And for the last 400 years, the glasses I'm wearing and the glasses depicted on this slide, the dual temple format, has been the major innovation in eyewear. So over 400 years, the style hasn't changed much. But Lucyd is aiming to upgrade the world's eyewear by incorporating into these stylish frames, Bluetooth technology that enables the glasses to seamlessly communicate with your digital life, whether it's a smartphone or a smartwatch or even your PC. So you could exchange information, take and make calls, listen to music, talk to any of the digital assistants. And it's really, it's quite a remarkable product. But Lucyd is not just interested in incorporating technology into prescription and sunglasses, which they are doing very well. And they introduced their first commercial product in January 2021 of this year. And it's been quite wonderfully received. They have over 200 5-star ratings between Amazon and the lucid.co site. But they're interested in making and selling millions of pairs of smart eyewear all over the world. And to do this, you have to do three things in our view. One, the glasses have to look good. They have to have a designer appeal to them because you're putting them on your face. It's not like wearing a watch. And by the way, talking about watches, the eyeglass market's at least twice the size of the watch market. 2/3 of the population needs corrective lenses, and the other third, for the most part, wants sunglasses. So it's really a global population that eyeglasses serve. Second, aside from them looking good, they have to be comfortable, and the proxy for comfort is weight. And traditional glasses weigh about 1 ounce. The Lucid Light line, pun intended, weighs between 1.1 and 1.4 ounces. So they feel like normal light traditional glasses, but they really offer so much more. And the third item that has to be checked off if you want to make and sell millions of pairs of glasses all over the world is they have to be priced like normal glasses. And the MSRP for the Lucid Light glasses, and they have omni-channel pricing, so it's the same whether you buy it from them or buy it through a retail outlet, is $149 for the sunglass format. So Lucid is the first company, in our view, that makes beautiful, smart, lightweight, and favorably priced or aggressively priced glasses that allow you to completely remain connected to your digital life as well as correcting your vision or protecting your eyes from sun exposure. And that is a great achievement in our view. Lucid signed a brand ambassador, Richard Sherman, who is an NFL player and was a Super Bowl champion. It's been very helpful in promulgating the brand. Salarius makes a low sodium salt that's all natural, non-GMO, tastes like salt because it is salt. It's even kosher. And they are seeking to sell it to the major snack food companies. And later this year, they will be introducing packets of microsalt, which is their trademark name, in supermarkets and convenience stores and restaurants throughout the US and then beyond. So we think Salarius is a terrific company with a great management team addressing the #1 cause of death in the world, premature death, cardiovascular disease. The team is headed up by Victor Manzanilla, who was previously at Procter & Gamble, and on his board is Eduardo Suchin, who was the brand manager for Pringles, which is owned by Kellogg's, and also on the board is Steve McCready, who was previously the director of product development for Albertsons, the second largest supermarket chain in the world. Guident is making software to help improve the safety of autonomous vehicles and delivery devices. Everyone knows autonomous vehicles are coming in numbers and the delivery devices are coming first. However, there will still be accidents even though these vehicles are run by pretty sophisticated algorithms. And what you need to do in those accidents is a little tricky because often there will not be any driver in the vehicle. And in the case of delivery devices, there will never be a driver in the vehicle. So Guident is building the first remote monitoring and control center that will be able to virtually jump into a situation and help resolve accidents by calling a first responder or moving the vehicle out of harm's way. Guident also, as some may recall, has acquired an interesting technology for developing regenerative shock absorbers. And we have been working on that technology, or Guident has been working on that technology, and they recently completed the engineering design for their new regenerative shock absorbers, and they are now going to be fabricated and tested throughout the summer. The design specification is roughly 100 watts per shock, which would be 400 watts per vehicle, which if the product is able to meet its design specification, it would add roughly 5 miles to the range of an electric vehicle, which is significant. And Guident has a terrific team headed up by Harold Braun, the former CEO of Siemens Nokia. On his board is Johan Denischen, the current COO of Volkswagen North America, and Daniel Grossman, who was one of the founders of Zipcar and was the COO of Maven, the General Motors mobility company. So in summary, Tekcapital commercializes and transforms university innovation into useful products that can improve people's lives and provide services to a number of universities around the world. We've built in our view, a terrific portfolio of 4 companies that have significant potential energy to achieve market penetration in their respective sectors, and proprietary intellectual property and significant leadership experience to help enable those journeys. And finally, we have a multi-year track record of delivering significant growth of net assets, revenue, and profitability. Thank you very much, and I'd be delighted to take any questions you might have.
So let me start with one from the audience with a gentleman called Siddharth Bhaskar. A 2-part question. Are you still planning to spin off all 4 companies? Well, one of them, Bellescura, has already been spun off within the next 2 years, i.e. by the end of 2023. And the other part of that question is, how will you pay the shareholders that special dividend? How exactly will that work?
Yeah, well, like any good librarian, the goal is to lend out the books. You don't want to keep the books in the library. So we're building these companies so that they can go out into the world and do what they're supposed to do. And that means that we're building them for either trade sale or flotation. And so, yes, we plan to do that. And that's part and parcel of our reason for developing these companies. Nobody wants to have 40-year-olds in the basement, you know. Yeah, and in terms of the special dividend, our business model is.
No, you haven't answered my question though, there, Clifford. 2 years, 24 months. Do you hope to have all your businesses floated or IPO'd within 24 months?
Or trade sale.
On trade sale, yes. You can do what you will with them. You can do what you will with your children.
Yes, I would like to see that happen within 24 months, if at all possible.
Fantastic.
It might be sooner for some. The market is pretty frothy here, and we're in quite a prescient area in each of those technologies. So I think it might be quite exciting the next 2 years for our shareholders. And then when we do have an exit, and we are free to monetize, and we think it's an appropriate time to monetize the shares of those exits, or if it's an exit in cash, we will then declare special dividends as we go and as we receive and manifest these exits to return a portion of that upside to our shareholders directly. And that's part and parcel of our business model.
Can we expect 4 exits, 4 special dividends?
Correct. That's the goal. That is the goal.
Fantastic. Okay, that's lovely clarity. Thank you so much. Mike, could we have slide 13 up again, please? That's the what's the name? Regenerative shock absorbers.
Yeah. So
you guys are making regenerative shock absorbers for autonomous vehicles. Very innovative. And a gentleman here called it's. With apologies, Panjak Patel. When can we expect the launch of the Florida RMCC, partnership deals, and also update us on the regenerative shock absorber testing?
Got it. The RMCC, the beta version of it is already launched in Boca and has been demonstrated, and a video of it has been released publicly. Guident is seeking to build out this remote monitoring and control center, which is required by law in the state of Florida, and recently in the state of California, and recently throughout Germany for autonomous vehicles. So they're seeking to build out this remote monitoring and control center this year, by the end of this year, and onboard hopefully 1 or more major customers this year. To do that, like all of our portfolio companies, they're pursuing additional financing either through crowd funds or venture or investment banks. And so, and the same is of course true for Guident. So they're in the process of doing that as well. And we believe they're on track to achieving that goal. Additionally, they're not just building a remote monitoring and control center, they're building one with extremely low latency. And that separates the men from the boys, as it were, in terms of remote monitoring. Because latency means, by latency, I mean the time it takes a signal to get from the vehicle to the remote monitoring center. The longer that takes, the less efficacious the remote monitoring is, because the vehicle isn't where you think it is by the time you see the signal.
But you guys are pretty good at that?
Sorry?
Your latency is pretty good?
Yeah, thank you very much, yeah. Latency, for the Guident latency, they haven't published the numbers yet, they're still testing them, but we think they're south of 50 milliseconds, which would be the best in the world. They haven't published the numbers yet, they're still researching it, but they have developed some very interesting technology that specifically is designed to minimize the latency. Yeah, so that's the story. And then in terms of the regenerative shock absorbers, they've finished the engineering design. They've done a really nice job of it, in my reckoning. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful technology. It could be really helpful for all EV manufacturers globally. However, they have to still fabricate and test it independently, and that's going on this summer. So again, it's a binary output, and then by that I mean there's no question in our mind that the technology works, but how well it works, of course, is the question, and we won't know that until it's independently tested. If it delivers on spec, and that is 100 watts per shock, which is 400 watts total, for a vehicle that has a 300-mile electric vehicle that has a 300-mile range, these shocks will deliver an extra 5 miles of range, at no trouble to the driver, or and it will continuously do so as long as the car is driving on Class A roads at 60 miles an hour. If the roads are bumpier, it'll deliver more power. If the roads are smoother, which is not a problem in the US, but it might be elsewhere, they'll deliver less power. So we think if it delivers the design specification, it'll be pretty fetching technology for any major electric vehicle manufacturer. So we're very excited about it.
What could the potential market size be, and how many people in the electric car vehicle market do you expect to be interested?
Well, look at it this way. I can't give you a specific number without being disingenuous by accident, but basically all electric vehicles have a regenerative braking. And regenerative braking basically generates electricity from the heat energy that is normally dissipated by braking. The electric motors that power electric vehicles are bidirectional. They work in both directions. And when you step on the accelerator, this sounds a little basic, but I'm just sort of giving you the primer on it. When you step on the accelerator, the power from the battery turns the motor, which turns the wheels, moves the car forward. When you take your foot off the accelerator or step on the brake, basically the reverse happens. The wheels turn the motor and generate electricity, and you could send that to the battery, or you could store it in ultracapacitors. And so you're able to capture electricity from the friction of braking the vehicle, braking the speed of the vehicle. All electric vehicles do that, and the regenerative braking generates, it varies depending upon the driving conditions and the vehicle, et cetera, but it generates roughly 15 miles for a 300-mile charge up. And it's sort of standard fare for the vehicles in extending the range of the vehicles. And we have good advice from car companies, in our view, that a 5-mile increase from shock absorbers that are otherwise just dissipating the energy as heat and vibration would be a wonderful addition to extending the range. And one of the battlegrounds.
Just wind you up there, Cliff. I'm gonna pop in another question just while we have you on the line. Shivam is a long-term investor in Tekcapital, and he says, "Can Clifford please elaborate on the high-level non-cash items that you use to report revenue and earnings? Do you use any assumptions in coming up with those revenues, or are these tangible revenues? And please, can we get a percentage breakdown of the revenue by top 3 holdings for tech?
Yeah, I'll refer him, of course, to our annual report for a detailed discussion on that. But at a high level, the revenues are from 2 sources. They're either from the service revenues of providing services to universities and helping them evaluate or commercialize their IP, or from the unrealized gains or losses in our portfolio companies. We have 4 portfolio companies. We are required under IFRS to value these companies annually and have them audited. And we in fact value them twice a year, even for the review period. And you have to do one of 3 things when you value the companies. If it's a quoted company, you could observe the closing share price at the end of the period, for example, as a good indicator of the value of that company. If it's an unquoted company, you have to do some other things. You either could tie the valuation to a recently conducted arm's length funding of the company, such as if it did a private round at 10p a share, you could say, you believe your shares are also worth 10p. Or if they haven't done that, or if it's more accurate, you can have that company independently valued by a qualified independent valuation company that's approved by your auditors. And that company can put an appraisal on the business, and that becomes the value of the company. So the collection of the 4 values of our portfolio companies is part of the revenue, and the service revenue to our universities is the other part of the revenue. And that's typical for an investment company.
Dr. Clifford Gross, you've been a complete star. Thank you very much for bearing with us. Sadly, we weren't able to get through all our questions. We have lots and lots more for you, but that's it. Time is up. Thank you so much for joining us from Miami today.